be surprised.
I don't
You'd
like
be
ANCAP
surprised
at all.
how many actually hate her.
I tolerate Donnie and I tolerate Ben as ANCAPs, and other than that, absolutely not.
You tolerate me as a communist, bro?
I barely tolerate Ben.
Nobody fucking tolerates you ever.
Yo, stop. Peak, bro. Yeah, we're live.
It's so over.
It's so over. Okay, enough of.
Okay, so because we decided the judges,
we
when
need
should
to-
we begin?
Alright.
Why would Tom get all dressed up for this?
Should I just like
Because
repost
it needs to
the
look professional.
Because it
TikTok
looks
stream?
cool, bro. Don't hate.
Looks cool. Don't hate. Exactly, bro.
Wait, but
Should I just
Okay, bro.
repost the TikTok stream?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the
Do that too,
TikTok
do that too.
stream? Where's the TikTok stream? Yo, TP, you tolerate me, bro.
It's crazy.
All bubbles, bro.
When? Now?
Okay, so we'll begin as soon as TPH is all setting up.
Okay, bro. The TikTok stream is not yet on it. So let's begin saying something like a warning. No HH, no Atom Bomb mentioning. Try to censor that, bro. No hacking Kauta. None of that, okay? No phalanges references. Okay, we need to chill, bro. Just a debate.
Okay, so I'm recording. Okay, then TPH.
Oh my god. Okay, let's go. Okay.
Okay, All right.
You're not the rabbit, bro. You're not the rabbit, and I'm not the ghost of
Yeah, I'm
Osam.
just helping.
Rabbit.
Okay.
I'm not the fucking
yep.
ghost of Osam. You hear
The
me?
rabbit is my brother. Now.
Yeah.
Gassy
Yeah, okay, now
TPH.
you're
Okay.
okay.
So I guess we
perfect.
have to I'm gonna get a notebook.
Alright, I got you. Wait, what was
I
that?
got a notebook now. So
Perfect.
Guys,
First,
if you see
we're
chat,
gonna
don't
go
talk to
over-
both, bro.
first we're gonna go over the conception of history, which was part of the thing of the debate thing from the beginning. So let's turn it over to Hoppian first. What is your general conception of history from a philosophical perspective?
I'm 100% on the Miesian side. I believe in praxeology. People are independent actors that are all decentralized, and they all do things in hopes of bettering their own utility through rationality. Now, that doesn't mean that they necessarily succeed, right? So somebody can donate $1 million, and they believe that that helps their utility because they believe that it helps the community around them, which in turn helps them, if you will. And through this decentralized forces, history moves.
I see. Okay, let's
Okay,
see.
then,
Wassam is going to now tell us his conception of history.
I believe in materialism as the mother of everything. Like everything happened because of material changes and things like I don't know. We can explain the roles of I don't know the Prophet Muhammad. It happened in a materialistic sense because there was a Perso-Byzantine war. We can explain such things like invasions of the Mongols because the step material conditions made up so people like Genghis Khan could appear. We can explain the history through a material lens, and it will be for me the most logical thing to do because materialism is not like individualism. It is decentralized, we can say, but it is more logic to view history that way. You know, we can explain the Reconquista, such things so great like that, in a material lens, of why the northern kingdoms went to the southern ones, which I think it was a good outcome. I, as a community, yeah, this is rare. Because the northern kingdoms were supported by the rest of Europe, and also there was more easier to make guns, and also that most of the people, because of the Muslim invasions, came to there, you know. So we can explain it through materialism. That's how I see history.
Okay. So we're gonna have so I want to hear Hoppian make a contention to Wassam's conception of history. Yeah.
Can I ask a question first?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Do you believe that materialism is everything? That there's no outside forces besides the physical reality?
I do believe because I'm a Catholic and I believe in God, there should be a certain amount of of responsibility on you. You know, the material conditions give you a probability that is more certain to happen because of the material conditions. But yeah, I believe in good and wrong as a communist, but for personal uses. Yeah, I do believe people can do some stuff. We have in some sort, in a little tiny sort, like I wake up today and I decided to do this. I decided to do this. It's my free will. Nothing material make me do this. Well, yeah, that I have a phone, but I don't know, things like that. You know?
Okay, because that's
The
important.
human
I don't want
actions.
to straw man.
May I ask a question here out of curiosity?
Yeah.
So, Wassam, would you consider yourself like a personal, like a spiritual idealist, but like politically you are a dialectical materialist?
Personally, I do believe. Personally, I do believe in not idealist, but the conception of the theology of the liberation. You know, I got my own thing. I kind of syncretize it with Marxist ideas, but yeah.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Gotcha.
Okay.
But
Okay,
yeah, materialism is primal.
So I'm not sure we got the contention. Let's just do that, and then we'll let that play out, and then we'll get to Wassam trying to do the same thing to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him to begin.
I was just making sure. There's a scale of materialism. I didn't want to straw man. I would say that dialectical materialists take already low time preference societies and decide that production is already there. So what happens is that these individuals already live in a way that allows them to see the future, not see the future, but make future inferences on production and economic scales that allows these countries to move on and on through productive modes. So it's taking the chicken, or it's taking the egg and saying that it's a chicken already, and it allows and it takes logical conclusions and say that it's a contradiction. For instance, it'll say that like a seed contradicts itself into a sapling, which contradicts itself into a tree, when actually you have to look on the ontology of a seed to say that will become a sapling, which will become a tree, just based on the nature of a seed.
Yeah, I guess you're not understanding that, Alexis. But I want to ask you something first. Didn't that individual, which has a status in society that allows him to see the future and gain capital, that good, then he has that status because of the material conditions?
No.
Because of the material no, think about it. The material conditions of he being bourgeois make him watch the future because he is the positive class, you know?
Yeah,
He
but that
is
doesn't explain.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. He, because of the you are literally materialist. He, because of the materialism, views the future. You said it. Because of his condition, he views the future. Because of that condition of the individual.
Not because of social class. It's because they're usually they're more low time preference. Their rationality allows them allows them to make inferences based on productive modes. So like somebody from a poorer class, right? Somebody from like a working class, say like a steelmaker, can make low tie preference inferences and put a percentage of his savings into a Roth IRA. Same thing for a rich person. It has nothing to do with class and has everything to do with using rationality to their advantage.
Well, but I mean, you know that. I mean, because you're rich, we Marxists believe in class relationships. You know, because you're rich, because of materialism, you're gonna act upon a way. You know, because and this has to do with the labor, with the value. Because of things that happen in the past to you, you're gonna consider, let's say, this thing. I don't know how to say it in English. You're gonna consider more valuable than this thing, you know? Because I don't know, when you was a kid, the material conditions of where you live, people like to throw this, okay? And this was not so common, so you value more this, right? And that's because of materialism. A rich person becomes rich because of materialism also. You know,
Okay,
that's
then-
what rules the world.
Then
You
how
can't
would you
decide.
explain-
You can decide if this is in your little free will. You can decide if this is more valuable than this. But really, the probabilities of materialism make you think that this is more valuable, and that's the conception of history. You know, and we're not getting into dialectics.
This might be a
Just yet.
good time to bridge to Wasam's contention. Is that okay on both sides?
My contention is that he thinks that because that individuals guide the world. That individuals guide the world. But really, I think that it is the classes, the class changes, the production changes. Like you need to understand that when the Industrial Revolution happened, many things changed. It was not because individuals. It was because of a scientific change, a material thing that changed the whole world. And this is in this context was born communism as a reaction to capitalism. You know, to the exploitation of the work. Okay, you can
I
move
mean,
on.
if you want to make a defense, then we'll go to we'll see what we go to.
So I would say that the value of things is completely individual. It's completely subjective. And you were talking about like production, right? If you were a farmer in the 1800s, right, and you're digging for a well and you find oil, you're basically out of luck. You're hating life at that point because it's seen as just a black sludge with nothing to do. And then 100 years later, it's the most valuable resource in the world. And that's the same material, that's the same world, but it shows different production levels because people were able to figure out how to use that to make new productive modes. And it happened, sure, in the context of a society, but it's different people that figured out how to make the engine, that figured out how to make the wheels, that figured out how to sort a car together, right? And to use that oil. It's not a society as a whole that's deciding to use the context. In fact, society didn't like the car at the start. Society felt that horse-drawn carriages were the tradition and were the way to go.
Yeah, okay. Those people who made the engine, who made those advantages, normally, I'm a little bit sick, normally were patrocinated by all rich people or were already rich, because of their material condition, they got time to study that, Like, let's say, what is this game? It's about farming and things like that. That it was made by an indie creator, right? He got a lot of time to do it, but he only got that time because his girlfriend was caring for him. Like he was jobless and doing that. Now he's a millionaire. But that happened because of his material conditions, the material conditions of his girlfriend being able to care for him without him needing to work, you know? Those people also got those material conditions. Normally, the ones who make advances and do science have free time, because to do it, you need the material condition of having free time, you know?
Okay. Okay.
All right, so we could do one of two things. We could do a rebuttal, or we could get into specifically the empirics of the plan.
Are you talking about the 5-year plans?
Yeah. So we either do Hoppion's rebuttal or get it into the empirics of the 5-year plan.
I mean, I think this debate, as long as he doesn't admit that materialism is primal, which he's not gonna do it as an ANCAP, he's not gonna convert to communist that faster as I did. Well, I got to, trajectory. He is not gonna admit that, so it will be an infinite debate of I say no, bro.
Yeah.
People, this is individual, and it will never end. So. The judges, I would like that the judges will make their votes.
Okay, yeah. So
also,
Hoppien makes a rebuttal to
this
what Sam just said, or we go to empirics of the 5-year plan, and we want to make this quick because we don't want him to forget.
Yeah, and also I'm editing this, bro. This I don't want a large video, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so it's up to you.
First. Sacramento, which way do you want to go with that?
Me?
Yeah, you're one of the judges. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't think there's been enough said to judge yet. It would be kind of hard.
I agree with Zach. I don't think there was enough said, and there needs to be more elaboration on the points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
right,
we could do judge questions next.
Already majority.
Yeah, it will be great. It will be great.
Same thing. All right, we're gonna stay in the field of conceiving history. So Hoppien, you can make a rebuttal to Wassam's last thing.
All right. So again, it's taking these people that already have a low time preference. So like the first person that made the game, right? He made a conceited move. He made an economic move in which he would take the time that he has and put it into a game, and hopefully that investment would lead to future capital. And that's what I mean is that there's people in lower classes that do the exact same thing. They'll make a small business, and hopefully that business will turn into something big. Sure, like your material world has something to do with you, obviously. Like I'm an Aristotelian dualist. I think that the material world does obviously have an effect on a person, but this isn't the way that history works. It's because of these moves that people make that value their utility more or less, which is why you can see exactly in the world that we live in, usually, right? Like there's people that are poor and they usually stay poor, but there's also a high class mobility even within the United States.
Okay, but let me ask you, as I said, this will be a debate of infinite. Could he have done that game and gain profit? I remember the name. It's Stardew Valley. Could he have made Stardew Valley without his girlfriend caring for him? And it was 2 years of being jobless. Okay, you think a normal person which has to work, has to care for a family, has to make income so your kids don't starve, can waste that much time making a fucking game? You think they can? No.
I would contend-
Without
I would
those
contend
material
with ways.
conditions, he couldn't make nothing.
Sure, but why did he decide to make that game?
I don't know, maybe because of in the past, his material conditions, his life, because people don't decide to, I don't know, let's say, I tomorrow I decide to download Warzone. Don't do it, it's trash. What would that happen? And maybe because in the past, when I was a child, I didn't get to play it. It's nostalgia. There's influence in that decision. Okay, you don't do it just because you want to do it. The material conditions of your past made you value. I don't know. I could decide to play. I could decide. Let's say, oh, I think this phone, because in the past I never got a phone, is more important than this mouse. Okay. Because my material conditions in the past made me think that this is more valuable for me. And so happened with the bourgeoisie and the people who got rich. They, because of their past and their material conditions and their past relationships, decide how to do their thing. I'm not laughing because of you. It's the damn comments. I guess you're seeing it, bro.
No, I've been seeing it as well.
Okay, so let's just.
Yeah. I've been trying to hide it.
Also, traditions, as he said, there are many outcomes which are material. Yeah.
Okay, so
I need you to debunk that.
Okay, so then even value is completely subjective. Like you were saying the phone versus the mouse, right? Because somebody didn't have a phone. There's infinite reasons why somebody would say that a phone is more valuable, right, than a mouse. And a lot of that has to come down to, what's more scarce, a phone or a mouse. I can go down and I can find thousands of mouses for like $10-15 because the scarcity of it, because the economic profitability of it is a lot lower than, say, a phone.
Okay.
So all of these decisions that people make are based off economic reality, which is like, which is based off of utility. So people value a phone more. People value a game, which is why somebody would take 2 years off to work on a game, right? And even if sure he had a lot of free time, there's also other ways to be able to gain the economic ability to make a game, especially now through what there used to be Kickstarter, now it's whatever it's called. There's Patreon, there's all kinds of things. Like it just shows that people understand time, and people understand.
That makes sense. Okay, so that's a good question. That's a great question. I just explained to you how rich people get to be rich. Okay, now I'm gonna explain to you how value we as Marxists we conceive it. Okay, there is the value comes from the work. Okay, it's from labor. What the value is labor. This phone is valuable because of the labor that was spent on it. Okay, and for such things like games and things that doesn't have a use value, like I don't know, this you can't do anything with this. You can't. It doesn't have a use value. It's just to entertain yourself, throwing it there. Okay, or beer, things like that. It doesn't have a use value. It is actually bad for you. So for things that has a use value, it is more valuable because their use value, the time that was spent on it. So value takes it's kind of subjective, but no, it depends of the material conditions of the country it is in. Okay. Or the place. It just depends on the place. But it's always the material conditions, and it's always same price.
Can I ask something real quick?
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of talk about like material conditions, dialectical materialism, and obviously the opposing debater thinks that history is moved by individuals. We kind of keep going over the same concepts that like I think we all are familiar with. Could you guys explain or like give examples of why you think, for instance, history moves based on the means of production, or history moves based off individuals? Because like this is still kind of like the intro. We're not really going into the 5-year plan yet. I think that would like help people understand your viewpoints more.
Okay, that will be great. Okay, I'll give you the pass. Do it.
All right. So even like, I wouldn't say great, I'm not a great man theorist, but even through like said great people, right? You can take Julius Caesar, for instance. He saw the world that he lived in, right? He saw what people would say was the material reality, but he also had a goal of becoming a king, of becoming an emperor. He saw that within his own personal utility. Sure, there's a context around him, right? Like an empire is kind of in decay. There's a lot of political contention. There's a lot of social discohesion. But he himself had to decide that he wanted to become emperor. It wasn't because of a material condition that forced him to become emperor. Same thing for like Napoleon, right? It was personal drive. It was his own Ubermensch, if you will, that allowed him to become king of France. And it could have been other people along the way. It's not deterministic based on material conditions. There were other people beside Napoleon that could have done the exact same thing, even if they were given different conditions from birth.
I mean, you know that this changes such thing. The rise of Napoleon, the rise of Julius Caesar, all those people happened because of a background, a political background. You know that if Julius Caesar didn't exist, there will be another Julius Caesar. You know that I'm gonna take a Hispano-American example, which I don't like. Simón Bolívar. You know that if Simón Bolívar didn't exist, there will be another Simón Bolívar, or the Mexican land. But at the end of the day, that land, because of the political situation and that Spain was being invaded by Napoleon, either way would have gained independence. It was not only Simón Bolívar. There were a lot of, maybe not as good as him because of his material background, that Bolívar was a general in the Spanish army. He was well trained, but there would have been a leader like Miguel Hidalgo, or the fathers of the independences of the country, but there could have been. Okay, it was because of the material background on that country. It is obvious to understand that.
But if somebody else, if Bolívar, say he had a stroke, right, just died instantly, and somebody else took his place, would the country look the same, even if the material conditions of the country are the same?
I mean, maybe Bolivia didn't name itself Bolivia, but Bolívar made his reforms because there was a support to do that. Okay, there was a liberal background, a liberal necessity because of the revolutions. You know, because of the French Revolution, of the American Revolution. Geopolitics was a time of revolution. Okay. Even though Bolívar had a stroke and died, or I don't know, he didn't even get to die. It was other person, I don't know. Let's say the father of Bolívar got he got a daughter instead of a child. These changes could have happened the same or too similar. There's no one great man theory. If Napoleon didn't get to do to seize control and do a coup d'etat, someone else could have done it. There were a lot of people who wanted power in the French Republic, we can also have the example of Genghis Khan. And this sounds contradictory. Genghis Khan was a great tactician, okay? But when he died, the Mongol Empire was not as big as it was. And in the steppes, there were other empires. It was a normal thing, okay? There were the Huns, they got to Khanate. A lot of people who formed big empires and invaded and raided everything. It could have happened. You know, the material conditions made it possible. It was not because of Khan. You know, it is a misconception of history doing that. Even
So why didn't somebody else do
it?
So if it wasn't Khan, then why didn't somebody else do it?
Because Genghis Khan was alive. Because
Okay,
he
so
in the background in the whole thing, okay, he was the one who fit the best.
Okay, I think I know
And-
the right question to ask, and this might just seem like me hammering down, you know, and you guys can go with alternative answers, but is this a matter of people holding on to abilities and knowledge and using them to give representation to certain forces, or are the people in power themselves actively shaping the course of history? And I'm assuming what each of you guys' positions would be on that, but you guys, like I said, can go alternative ways.
I guess this is more of a question to Hopian Hero than me. You know that my position is just
What's that? You kind of cut out.
yeah.
We'll get
so
the first answer.
Hopian
from
Hero.
Javi.
Is it because of the abilities and the capabilities of these great men, individuals who conquer everything and they were so good at it? Is it because of their abilities or because they get to rule?
It comes from utility. It comes from people being in, sure, they're in positions that allow them to do something more easily, but it's completely through what they believe will be in their economic best interest.
So you think Genghis Khan, without getting into power, if he was just a peasant, you think he would have conquered as much as he did?
Probably not, but that's not because that's
a material condition, isn't it?
no, because
Being a peasant isn't a class condition.
I mean, sure, but then
It's not because of individuals; it's because of materialism.
sure, but you can't also say that Genghis Khan wouldn't have been born Genghis Khan. Like the
He
situation.
couldn't have done it if he didn't was born into the Burijin family and he didn't inherit a whole tribe. He was the underdog in this whole thing. Okay, but if he didn't get to at least have an army of raiders, which was untrained and incapable of doing anything, he couldn't have done nothing. Okay, it was impossible to him without having a rich, because Genghis Khan, before the conquest, was rich. He was rich, bro. He got his own host, he has his own tribe, he has his own raiders, he has an army. Normal peasants don't have an army. As much as he was a great tactician, if he didn't have the resources and material conditions, he couldn't have get to do it. As well as Napoleon. If Napoleon was a peasant and not born in a aristocratic rich family, he get to go to aristocratic military schools, and he had prestige even before the revolution. I mean, he was a commander. He couldn't have get to do anything if he was just a peasant, you know?
But even Napoleon wasn't part of a rich family. They were part of an aristocratic family, sure, but they had very little wealth when it comes to their material conditions.
Okay, here, peasants don't go to aristocratic military schools.
Okay, but even during the French Revolution,
How could he have learned military tactics, siege? How could have had how could he have learned how to do his great tactics of putting, the artillery in front of him if he didn't study sieging and military tactics in a well-known aristocratic military academy? He
Even his
couldn't
own
never
tactics.
know how to do it. It just, bro, knowledge is something you gain through an institution, through someone who tells you knowledge, okay? It is passed down to other people. If you don't have the possibility, the capabilities to get that knowledge, it is impossible to you to do great things.
So what you're saying is that knowledge is empiricistic, empirical. That's the word.
I guess, bro. I'm saying that knowledge is passed to people. Okay, it's material. It is material. Okay.
So
You need to
then-
have a status to have knowledge in that time. At that time, if Napoleon was a peasant or a proletariat, okay, he would probably didn't do anything because he didn't have the class position to do it. Okay, Napoleon was rich, bro. He was rich. He was an aristocrat. You need to understand that.
Even within his own time period, his tactics weren't the same. He didn't learn from a school how to position his cannons in a certain way. He didn't learn.
He was an expert on siege or on sieging. You can search it up.
Yeah, he was.
He
because
in
of
his
own-
school. No, it was because in his school they taught him, and also he copy other people in the past. Okay, like he copied, like he kind of adapted past tactics to his own to the time. Okay, it was knowledge. It was knowledge that was taught to him. Okay, sorry that my English is shit. I know it is. But if he didn't get to get that knowledge, he couldn't. He as good as and as smart as he was, he couldn't have do what he did. Another person could have replaced him. Also, in the French Republic, it was chaotic as hell. You think that a strong government, centralized, that was not struggling with everything and was fighting a three-front war and a civil war at the same time, you think that a strong government in the French Republic at the time, Napoleon could do his coup d'etat if those conditions were not matched to him? Like, the conditions were perfect to him to do that. Because of those material conditions, he made that. It was not because his abilities. It was because of the material conditions at the time.
So then, when he came back from Elba, right? What were the material?
When he came back
conditions
from
that
Elba,
allowed-
he was a legitimate emperor. People loved him because of the material things that he did before, and because he saved the French Republic. Okay, and so because of that, people let him. When the king sent the army, I know that shit so good. Okay, I'm a fan of it. You're not gonna beat me in this shit. Okay, because people love him so much. That's a material condition also. He did that. Okay?
Well,
So how
I
are
think-
relationships
guys.
between two people material?
Hmm?
How are relationships between two people material?
What you mean, bro? The material
like-
changes that he did. The prestige is also a prestige came because he was a past emperor. Okay, because of the of those material things that he did, and people love him. That's the only and even so, if Napoleon. You think that if Napoleon wasn't also Elba was not like he was imprisoned in Elba. They given that territory. He even made the empire of Elba. Okay, dude was rich. Dude was living great. Okay, he only came back to France because the Russian emperor, because of Josephine mainly. Okay, but if they send them to the I don't remember the name of the last island they send them him. Okay, you think that in I don't know they send them to oppression? You think that in oppression Napoleon could have done what he did? I don't know. let's say they send them to Latin America. They send it to some place in the Amazonas. You think that he could have done that? You think he could have come back to France with those material conditions?
Probably. People were already
How
traveling.
how
through
you
the
come back
Amazon.
to France from the how you come back to France from the Amazonian River? If you're
Because
poor
people
as
were already
hell
traveling.
and you're broke.
People were already cartographing the Amazon River by then.
Yeah, but there's also a material condition that is cartographed. Mhm.
It was at a material condition.
They made maps about it. It is like you are justifying. You're trying to disprove materialism with more materialism. You know, that's what you're doing.
No, I'm saying that there's two different worlds. There's two different
Yeah, but you're proving the other world with the world I defended. I defend
So the reason why people loved him wasn't necessarily because of material conditions. You're saying like he was an emperor before.
well, we can say
The
that.
person they revolted against was already a king.
Okay, no, they didn't vote it. It was a revolution. Okay, it was a Napoleonic revolution. It was. If he, I mean, let me. If they send them to, I don't know, the island in the middle of nothing. Okay, the last island that they sent him to was in the middle of nothing. Okay, you think he could have come back to France? Like he was literally imprisoned by the British. Okay, if those were his material conditions, you think he could have come back to France?
Probably not.
So it's a material. So without materialism, without the material conditions, you can't do anything. So the material conditions shape the world. Bro,
If I may add something here, Napoleon was actually imprisoned on a tiny island.
yeah, that was at the end of his life. But when they when they sent him to Elba, it was like they gifted him that city for him to live there. Okay, he was the governor, the emperor of that fucking island. Okay, he was still rich.
Yeah. It was meant to contain him. I just thought that I should bring that up.
Yeah, but British people are fucking stupid, so they failed. Okay, and and also Elba was near to France. Okay, like like Elba is literally at the side of fucking Corsica, where he came from. Okay, it is not hard in the time he for a person so rich like him to get into France, to the Occitan region, you know. So it was because of his material conditions.
TPH, we should probably move the topic or vote now, because
Yeah,
I'm
Yes,
getting
become a
yeah,
kind of
so-
stagnate.
I think that's as far as we're gonna get with this
Mhm.
philosophical.
and that was a good intro. That was a good intro, folks. That was good.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
we're gonna
I
go.
agree.
We're gonna go to the actual empirics of the results that the 5-year plan bore. There, yeah, you guys know what I mean.
Okay,
So, who wants to start?
I want to start saying the 5-year plan
Well,
is
hold
undeniable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
No, I was gonna say that I started last. You should start first, or I started last.
Me?
Okay.
Oh,
As
okay.
you know, there's
I want to say
separate strategy to this, and I don't think anybody an advantage.
Okay. The 5-year plan is it's an economic plan. It's something that normally happens. And I know yo, this Trotsky's dude is gonna hate me now because. But please, yo, please, bro, judge me well on this one. Okay. So
Yeah, no,
the
don't worry.
5-year
I have
plan-
no stake in this. I'm gonna try to be unbiased.
Yeah. Okay. The 5-year plan was something did by Stalin to industrialize, fearing Nazi invasion, and also to modernize. It was like a leap forward before the leap forward. You know, it was a great leap forward before the great leap forward. Yeah, people died in it. Yeah, there was famine in Ukraine. Yes, but it was not because Stalin wanted Ukrainians to starve. Okay, it was because of the material conditions of the region. Okay, and we can say when when the 5-year plan happened, the world was having a horrible, like the capitalist world. Sorry, I mistake that. I was mistaken. Okay, the capitalist world was having a crisis. Horrible was the Great Depression. While this was happening, let me get my sources. Wait. While this was happening, the Soviet Union grew at 300% in GDP. You know what? You know what is that? Not even Germany did that with their social democratic economic policies. Okay. How you explain that your system works better than communism when they were at crisis and communism was growing? We also can debate, if you want, the fall of the Soviet Union.
Well,
I'm giving you an advantage.
I wouldn't even say that the Soviet style was better than the monarchist style that was even before them. In the 1890s, right? There was a famine. How many people died from that famine?
I don't know. I guess it was like a million of Ukrainians.
It was less than 500,000.
400,000?
It was less than 500,000, and historians today think most of it was due to disease that would have happened. In 1905, there was another famine. How many people died from then?
Millions of people?
Zero. Zero people died. So we see that in the 1890s, right? The monarchists.
Yeah, but in that moment, the Russian Empire was not coming back from a civil war. Nor they were the Soviet Union. The Russian Empire, when those famines happened, was not in the middle of a fucking civil war and also World War One. Okay, you need to understand that. Okay?
In 1905, there was a civil war.
1905.
Mm-hmm. In 1905, there was a revolution.
No.
Yeah, there was an uprising.
1905.
This was the revolution in which Lenin's older brother died, but it was very small. It was not like a total war.
Yeah.
But even then, you can see a history of Russian monarchists that understood, right, the
like,
reality.
It was just like an uprising. You know, have you heard the civil war about the civil war in Spain? You know that before communists and anarchists make an uprising. Okay, it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was not like a serious thing. It was not like a great civil war. It didn't last long, you know. But even you can't compare, bro. You can't compare a fucking uprising to World War One and the Russian Civil War. You can't compare it. It has no comparison. It was the worst thing ever.
World War One ended in 1918. The Holodomor started in 1932.
Yeah,
So
but it was because of the consequences of the fucking war, and also the Russian Empire was not didn't had economic sanctions from the whole world. Okay, the whole world fucking hated the Soviet Union,
which is why Herbert Hoover gave them grain.
Okay.
So
also,
they weren't sanctioned if the United States was exporting grain to them.
Bro, but Britain were, bro, I mean, still, like, you know that after the American Civil War, there were famines and bad things happened. Normally that happened with, you know, the devastation. Have you read history? Like, you know the devastation of the Russian Civil War, the trillions of factories, farms, and things that were lost in that war. Like, yeah, like, yeah, but so with those materials, you think that with those material conditions, it was like they had the possibility to provide grain and everything necessary for that famine?
Well, during the midst of World War One, the Russian army was one of the most well-fed armies in the world. So yeah, I do think so. There were 190,000 letters from Russian soldiers. How many of them complained about food?
Jesus Christ, bro. Okay, okay, bro. Okay, perfect. Yeah, you know that. Okay, they were well fed. They got food, but they didn't got rifles, right? You know that the Russian Empire didn't got rifles. World War One. You know that, and also. No, it's not.
They had 2 pounds of meat
Russia
a
was
day.
not an industrialized country when World War One happened. It was a peasant, even feudal. They got even feudalism. They still had feudalism.
They didn't have
that
feudalism.
time.
Feudalism was abolished in 1857.
Yeah, bro, but I
serfs
mean,
were there?
the consequences
serfs
of
were there
feudalism
by-
is still there. You know, there wasn't an
No, it
aristocratic
wasn't.
class.
Feudalism was abolished in 1857.
The standard economic rating of pre-revolution Russia is a semi-feudal, for the record.
It's
So you're both
it's kind of
right.
semi-feudal.
Yeah, they were very semi-feudalists. They
Yeah, but you can't
Sorry,
call
what
it
were you
feudalist
gonna
if there were no serfs.
Yeah, bro, it's
except the
semi-feudalist.
classes were
Okay.
feudalist.
Yeah, there less than 10% of the Russian population at the time. I think it's 7.8% was proletariat, because the vast majority of the population was feudal. So
But you
Most
can't
of the
call it
people
feudal
were
if there were-
peasants.
if there were no
The
serfs.
most of the class relationships were peasant based. Okay.
Sure. But it was
And because
it
this
wasn't
class
serfdom.
relationship was mostly feudal, knights, not knights, but military and shit, they were treated better than the average person. So we got to talk about how the average person was eating and not how the military was eating.
Also, the military was. If that's real, that will make sense, because I don't know if it's real. If that real, I can't explain it. The military was prioritized, okay, and maybe when you're
Yeah, because the military was its own class.
yeah, like it was its own class, it was prioritized. Like obviously, the soldiers go first, then the peasants, okay. Like, and
Sure.
this even happened in the communist side. Like, yeah, I can criticize this. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, okay. Lenin did everything good. Lenin did nothing wrong. Like, yeah, bro, Lenin is a saint. No, he was a human. He did shit wrong. Okay, but still, the outcome was better. You can't deny it. You can't deny
Well, I can
that
deny it. If they went
the
from
proletarian
500,000
class.
people
Let me search
dying
it
in
up.
1890, and then the next decade there were 0 people dead, and then 2 decades later, what? There were 1 million people dead.
There was a growth in the bro. I mean, no, first, no. The population growth did not stop. Okay.
I'm not saying the
And
population
also-
growth stopped. I'm saying that more people died from famine.
Yeah, but I mean, most people recover from famines. Normally you recover from that. But what about the growth of the urban population? What about which was 13%? You know, 30% of proletarians, like to 33%. You know, it was a great growth. What about the 300% GDP growth? What about the growth of the agricultural machinery? It's not that I don't know. I just don't know. What about all that? What about
I would say-
the undeniable economic growth in the Soviet Union during the 5-year plan? And also, the 5-year plan fixed most of the Holodomor shit that was going on. Yeah, Stalin did shit
He did it
wrong.
on
in
purpose.
I'm
I
not
wouldn't-
gonna
I
deny
wouldn't say
that.
it's fixed. He did. He did the Holodomor on purpose. It was completely on purpose. Like even
Why?
in
Why,
his
why,
own
why
writings,
would he want to genocide his own people?
because he saw them as the kulaks. The Ukrainians have been wanting independence since the Russian monarchy.
The kulaks is a peasant.
I know what a kulak is. I'm saying
Aristocratic.
they're using.
The
I'm saying
kulaks
they're
are
using
not
that as a
peasants. The
standard for
kulaks are not
Ukrainians.
normal peasants. They're just landowners.
I know what it is. I'm saying it was a slur for Ukrainians.
No, it was a slur for landowners.
Okay, so then what was all the propaganda then for Ukrainians?
There was no propaganda. It was just
Okay.
against the kulaks.
So then why did they block media, Russian media talking about Ukraine
When? Now?
in 1930s?
Because they could rebel.
Okay, so it
So
was about a
I
rebellion.
think there's a fundamental disagreement on what the Holodomor is here. This would be very interesting for you to go into. So Hopian, you think the Holodomor is an actual like cultural genocide on the Ukrainian people, correct?
Yeah.
Bro, you
And
need to
was,
understand.
Yeah,
and you're gonna hate me for this,
one
bro.
second. Was you do not think that it was a purposeful cultural genocide on the Ukrainians, correct?
No, I think it was fault of Stalin. Yeah, he did wrong in it,
Mhm.
but it was not on purpose.
Okay.
Like, no,
we
and
should
you
go on a
can't become
tangent on this. This is
ultra
very
industrialized after the 5-year plan.
Yeah. This goes into the 5-year plan. So obviously TPH is the leader here, but I would say that we should probably go over this a little bit.
And look, what was your name? I don't remember well.
Me?
Shit. Your thing name.
Yeah, just call me Sam. Just call me Sam. Sam is good.
Yeah, okay, Sam. You're gonna hate me for this, but
You're good. Man.
Ukrainians are just Russian LARPing us their independent thing. Okay, so Ukrainians, we need to understand. Ukrainians, we need to understand that Ukrainians were kind of rebellious. Okay, they were kind of rebellious, and they even sided with the Nazis, bro. Like what the Banderai army and all that. Okay,
there has
But
always been
Ukraine
Ukrainian
benefited.
nationalist elements. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to call it Novoruzia, not Ukraine. In the Donbass region, after the 5-year plan, they benefited a lot because the Donbass region was steppe with nothing. Okay, steppe with nothing, and the Donbass region is now an hyper industrialized center of Russia, which is the one who is occupying it. You know, but it really benefited Ukrainians. You can't deny it. Yeah, there was. You don't talk about the good stuff of the 5-year plan. You don't talk about the population growth, which there was a population growth even in Ukraine. You don't talk about how people's life got better. You don't talk about the GDP growth. You don't talk about the agricultural agricultural tactics for the agricultural economic growth. Talk about none of that. You don't talk about the improvement of the Caucasian people life. You don't talk about autonomies. You don't talk about none of that, which Stalin and the 5-year plans bring to the Soviet Union. It was a great system until the revisionists came and ruined it all.
And out of curiosity, Wissam, when do you think the USSR degenerated? Would you say under Khrushchev?
Yes.
Okay. Hopian, what's your rebuttal to that?
So in the 1890 famine, the Russian monarchy gave 5 million rubles of their own money, and the Russian queen gave $12 million in donations, mostly from other aristocrats and British aristocrats. The Russian government gave $150 million in grants, in which case they were also, in the later years, what's it called? Not foreclosing, the opposite. Deleting loans.
The Soviet state did not have that money to give to Ukrainians, and there was no support of Britain. We need to acknowledge that Britain literally invaded the Soviet Union during the Civil War as an intervention. Okay, no one was supporting those dudes. They were They were alone.
All right. Why did Stalin get
Yeah,
zero?
Stalin did trade it with the Middle East nations because it was the only thing that he could do. You know?
All right, so the government gave 150 million rubles. The government itself, right? Not the monarchy itself, which gave 17 million. Stalin gave zero to Ukraine in the 1930s.
Because
Zero
there was no money to give. There was no money to give. We need to understand. I told you, bro. The material conditions were different. You need to. I literally understand that the material are primal. You think that if a Stalin got the actual money, you know, if a Stalin got the actual money, actually, when he fixed Ukraine. He spent money on fixing Ukraine, and also when the whole thing was happening, he used money on it, bro. Like they spend money, maybe not in giving grain because they spend money on the industrialization, in collectivization, in new tactics for farming. They didn't spend money. They wanted to stop the famines.
So
Okay?
why did they lock down the border? Why did they allow Ukrainians to go other places where there was food? There were famines other places. Those cultures were allowed to migrate. The Ukrainians weren't. Why is that?
Because the Ukrainians could have become rebellious.
Why is there a fear of rebellion if they were doing nothing wrong, right? Why was there?
Because
why
the
was there-
Ukrainians, yo, bro, you know, because the Ukrainians used to do it. They were rebellious because they just do it, bro. Like they could have done it, and I think this was not okay. This was not okay. Yeah, you need to put people first before the state, but it makes sense. They could have rebelled, and also Trotsky was making his shit in Ukraine, and there was the whole political crisis in the Soviet Union during that time. Okay, and they just needed to secure the state's survival. Okay, the Soviet Union at that time was a vanguard state. Okay, they needed to survive at all costs. And the only way to do it is to take those harsh methods, which I think they were not okay.
Taking grain out of a starving region.
Ukraine needed there was an obligation for all the Soviet Republic to supply grain to the other Soviet Republic. And it was just sorry, bro, it's just the law. I'm sorry.
So in the United States, say that you're in charge, right?
Yeah.
If I don't know, what's a farming region? If Indiana, right, is the only region that's starving, right? Would you then still take exports from Indiana?
Yeah. They need to supply.
Even if they're starving?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, but I will help them. And also, what is the background before from Indiana? I think that was wrong. But I understand why they do it. Okay? I think that was not the best thing ever to do, but it was.
Yeah. So
it was not only Ukraine which was starving, bro. It was everybody.
Ukraine was the only
starving.
region that was locked down.
So wait,
Ukraine
so
was
for the
only
record, Wassam, you do not think in retrospect this was a good idea? Stalin's decision.
No,
Okay.
I think you put people before policies.
Okay, fair. I just wanted to elucidate your position there.
Yeah, I agree with Stalin, but yeah, he's a human. He did shit wrong, but that's the only thing he did wrong. You don't know he win. He defeated the Nazis himself. It was not the Americans. Without the Americans helped, but without the Nazi invasions to the Soviet Union, the Americans couldn't have a chance. You know, like it was like, and also he was doing all of this harsh stuff to prepare for the invasion of Nazi Germany. Sorry for saying that before. I know it was preparations. It was needed But if he didn't do this harsh industrialization, the Soviet Union couldn't have survived. And you know it couldn't. The Yazidis were coming back. The only way to beat them for the Soviets. I'm laughing at Farah, her message. The only way to beat the Yazidis, the only way for the Soviets to beat the Yazidis was hyper industrialization, have more industry than them, and beat them in quantity. That's the way they beat them.
Yeah, but which guns were they shooting? What oil was in their trucks?
Yeah, also they improved that. I mean, bro, the Soviet Union didn't need the oil supply, bro. They got the Caucasus, they got Turkestan, they got Iran, bro. Those dudes didn't need oil, okay? They did, yeah. It was great, the help that the United States sent it. But they don't need oil. They didn't send oil. You know?
Okay, well then, even when talking about grain production, why did the Soviets rely on grain production all the way until the 1980s?
I mean, because they were blockaded by everybody, and they needed that. Okay,
if they were blockaded by everybody, why did the United States and all of the Western world give them grain?
Because
20% of their imports was United States grain.
Yeah, sure. She's a 20%.
20.
Yeah, I'd like you to bring evidence for that.
Evidence for that. All right.
And if that happened, it's okay, bro. It was in World War II. It was needed to be done because
I'm talking
if
about
they
the 70s
didn't do
and the
that,
80s. If the 5-year plan was rapid industrialization, right, which was needed, then why was it in the 1970s and the 1980s the United States was still their greatest importer of grain?
I mean, because nations trade, you know. And also, bro,
Okay,
the Soviet
they
Union
were
didn't
blockaded by the West.
Bro,
So they
you know
weren't
that
blockaded by the West.
Ukraine is a mass producer of grain in Europe, right? They really don't need that.
So
Like
in the
the
1970s
biggest
and the
farm
1980s,
fields in the fucking world are in Ukraine, bro. They
in
don't
the
need
1970s
their
they went
help.
through a famine. They went through another famine in the 70s.
Yeah, because that normally happened because of the material conditions, and it was a natural thing.
So it goes from Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe to the material conditions lead to them needing to import grain from the
Yeah,
United
bro.
States.
Regions normally have crisis. Okay, it's the natural thing. You know, regions
Not the
normally.
United States. In the United States, they didn't have a famine. Not,
Yeah, they
not
have.
in
They
every other
had.
part of the
They
Western
had famines. They had famines before.
Not in the 1970s.
They got a fucking crisis, bro. The United States was super good in the 1930s and 1920s.
Yeah,
okay,
I was gonna
they were
say
doing great, bro.
it wasn't a
They were
famine.
doing great during the fucking Great
They didn't have a
Depression.
famine in the 1930s. See, there's a difference. There's a difference between I'd rather be
People was
impoverished
starving in the United
1930s
States, bro. What
in the
the fuck is you talking about? People
rather
was
be
losing their
impoverished.
homes.
I'd rather be impoverished in the Great Depression in the United States than dead in Ukraine in the 1930s in Russia.
Oh my god, bro.
There's a massive difference.
No, there wasn't. People wasn't starving in both places. But either way, the Soviet Union was growing economically, while the United States was killing itself, bro. Like they were having a fucking. You can't deny this, bro. You just can't deny it.
Why has Russian life expectancy never exceeded United States life expectancy?
Maybe because they had many fucking wars.
The United States have
Maybe
many
because
wars as well.
they were through World War II. Maybe because of that, maybe. And
Okay,
also
so-
because
so
the United
World War-
States doesn't send its whole population to a war.
It's been 80 years. So why isn't Russian life expectancy exceeded it?
Afghanistan, Vietnam, Ukraine now, and also these things are not a fault of the 5-year plan. Also, actually, the 5-year in it, because
So,
the
well,
5-year plan
if the
helped.
5-year plan, if the 5-year plan succeeded, this is why I'm saying is why didn't life expectancy ever exceed the United States, even though
Because-
Russia, as a country, probably has more natural resources than the United States, or maybe not more, but
The
almost
United
as
States
much.
is around super rich on natural resources. I don't know what you're talking about.
Russia?
No, the United States.
Yeah, I'm saying that Russia has almost as much.
The United States is also the basket of America. The United States got the better oil, oil resources in the fucking world in Texas. I mean, not in the fucking world, but they got good oil resources. They got Alaska. The United States got great natural resources. I don't know what you're talking.
I didn't say that they didn't. I said that Russia has almost as
Russia
much.
does not right now. Russia does not has better natural resources than
They have huge
than
gold
the United
mines.
States.
They have huge oil wells, platinum, titanium.
No. I mean, Jesus Christ. Are you talking about the Soviet Union or actual Russia?
Both. I mean, it's basically the same country.
Well, the Soviet Union did had great natural resources, but Russia, I do support it today, but not because they're communists. They're not. They're obviously not. You can't blame on the failures of actual Russia because they're not communists.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the region itself, not like the region of Russia, not the
It
political
helped.
entity
Russia's an industrialized country today because of the 5-year plan, and you can't deny that.
Okay, then why did they need like this? This goes back all the way to the ECP. They were never able to stop shortages because in the 1970s and the 1980s, 40 years after World War II, they were
After World War II, after World War II, there were no shortages. They were doing
in
great.
In 1947, they had a famine.
The whole world was doing great after World War II. I don't know what you're talking about.
In 1947, they have a famine. In the 1970s, they have another one.
Yeah, but it was not so bad as the Holodomor.
Yeah, it wasn't bad because the United States sent them 20% of their grain.
Dog. I guess, bro. I guess.
This has been reported. This has been reported. You can look it up.
Okay, show evidence.
All right. Let me make sure my screen isn't.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. It's perfect.
If I may ask a question,
Have screen share, yeah.
why would the Soviet Union have to contend with the ECP if they had markets?
Yeah, the Soviet Union did have, in fact, markets. Not the way you conceive it, but
I
they
wanna see you
did
guys
have
using your
markets.
notes a
But
lot.
so
Okay, let's
so
approach the stream.
it hasn't. It doesn't make sense. We're talking about a 5-year plan. You to the ECP.
Yeah, so make sure both of you guys are using your notes a lot and really getting at it.
No, I'm just talking, bro, because I'm recording. I don't want to cut the whole thing to show my things. I'm just talking about what I know.
You can do the screen share. Is that what you're intending?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
totally in on it. You can do that.
okay. I got it here, bro.
Hold on.
Well,
First,
in the 1970s, in 1972,
what his information.
Okay, let's see it.
in 1972, they sent over 440 million bushels of wheat.
1972, Stalin was not alive.
Yeah, but if
Yeah,
if the
it was not Stalin's fault. It was
If
not
the
the
fi-
5-year
if
plan
the-
fault.
If the 5-year plan worked, then why were they still suffering shortages all the way into the 1980s?
Because of how you call this word when someone, oh shit, my English is horrible, bro. Because of I don't know, the current leader of the Soviet Union It was not Stalin's fault. It was not the
Only
The-
great man theory. Only great man theory.
no, like it was because of there was not anti-revisionist leadership. Revisionist mindset was primal in the Soviet Union after Stalin's death.
I mean, I would consider the 1980s Soviet Union to be more successful, considering in 1972 when the famine happened, nobody died. With Stalin, he
Yeah, but
can't say that.
Stalin
He
made
can't say
the
that. 5 million people
foundations.
died.
Stalin made the foundations for that to happen. There was no more 5-year plans after Stalin's death. It was the only one who did it was Stalin. And no, this
Because
is
it
not
was
great.
such a massive
great-
failure. Because it was
Hmm?
such a massive failure.
No, because it was great, and I mean, they consider it a massive failure, but it wasn't. I mean, they kind of did, and kind of not.
There were
What would
5-year
you call
plans
5
into the
million people
1980s.
dying?
It's wrong. There were
Hmm?
5-year plans in the 1980s. They continued into the 1980s. You're both.
Yeah, but it was not as great. It was not as great as the first one. The first one made the foundations for the
Well, there
Soviet
were
Union.
3. There were 3 under Stalin by himself.
Yeah, and bro, the first one was the worst one for people because the Soviet Union had a mature condition. You know, the second one fixed most of those problems, and the third one made Russia what it is today, bro. It's a super industrialized country. You can't
That
deny
still
it. You
suffered
can't. You just
famines all the
can't.
way into the 1980s.
But that's that was because of World War II, the devastation that World War II bring to the.
So why
the Soviet
didn't any
Union.
other country? Why didn't any other country in Europe besides the Soviet bloc have famines in the 1980s?
Because no one got such a great devastation like the Soviet Union did.
You could argue that Germany had a much bigger devastation and still didn't have a famine in the 1980s. You can argue France. You can argue Italy.
No, France did not had such a great devastation, bro. The World War II was not as bad as World War One. You need to acknowledge that. Okay, that's the fact. Okay, I'm not talking about World War One, but the Soviet front, was the worst and most devastated one. The Yazidis used their worst weapons in the Soviets, okay? And they had a lot of devastation. Also, they killed, they unalived, they genocide many in those regions, okay?
I mean,
that's why a
there's a
famine
reason-
came. They
there's a reason why-
destroyed farms, they burn farms, they burn fields. That happened. None of that happened in Germany.
None of
why
that
they
happened
did
in
it.
Germany.
And also, Germany was supported by other countries. So there was not a famine because they didn't want another reactionary leader like Big H,
No, there's a reason why Königsberg was German until 1944, and now it's somehow ethnically Russian. That's not a coincidence. Germany
Well,
had
that was the Stalin. That was the Stalin's thing. He wanted a new world, and in that world, Königsberg became Russian. But I don't think that was good. I actually think that Germany should keep that region and actually and the Polish corridor. But I guess Stalin didn't view it that way. Still, that was wrong. There were a lot of war crimes by the Soviets. Like all armies do war crimes. Even
I'm
the
not
United
arguing
States
the
one.
ethics. I'm not arguing the ethics of war. I don't care about that. Insofar as this conversation, I'm saying there was just as much devastation in Germany and in West Germany in the 1980s, in the 1970s. there
Germany
wasn't a famine.
was supplied by practically everyone. Even the Soviet Union supplied with grain and resources, both of Germany's. So there was not another Hitler.
Yeah, but
That's why they didn't have a famine.
But the Soviet Union, The Soviet Union didn't import or didn't export to the US. The US did export to the Soviet Union. There's a reason for that.
Well, because there's a market, they buy things. It makes
wasn't-
sense.
It wasn't a market. It was the Soviet government importing grain to make sure that people didn't starve.
The United States government import oil to make sure that their cars go well, even though they have a lot of oil in their natural.
There's a difference. There's a difference
I
between.
don't see the contradiction.
The contradiction is that oil, right, is for me to go to work. Food is for me to not die.
Yeah, and most of those problems were fixed.
How were most of the
Oh,
problems
you're
fixed if they had famines into the 1980s?
Because oh, Jesus Christ.
Let's get into the
The
actual,
famines.
let's get into the actual famines and yeah. So I mean, I guess Hopping just bring in a particular one that took
Yeah,
place.
it has become infinite.
And
Okay.
you know, you can tell us where you're getting
I like-
it and everything. Wissam can he can vet it and he can make his argument. So we'll start with that. Whatever famine you want to bring up.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that. You were cutting out.
Oh, I was saying. So we'll go case by case here, and so you'll bring up a famine or whatever, something that happened that you want to use as an argument, and then Wissam will vet it and he'll make his counter arguments.
Okay.
Okay.
So I want to bring this all the way back into the 1890s, right? Because this shows like the progress that the Russian monarchy was making, right? In the 1890s, 500,000 people died, right? Absolute tragedy. Most of it though was due to disease, and you can argue, right, that a sick person that's malnourished is worse, sure, but most of it was still due to disease. The Russian monarchy gave 5 million rubles out of their personal pockets and 12 million rubles in donations from aristocratic families, and 150 million rubles from the Russian government went to farms.
Yeah. I can search it up. I can bring up my as well. I mean, there was a lot of the 5-year plan was made to make famines stop, which they did. The famines were not as bad as the first one, and bro, I come from a landlord family. Okay, they're not anymore from Cuba. Okay, sometimes famines are a natural conditions of that land. You know, it is gonna happen either way. We're just trying that it doesn't happen as bad as that first one. I'm not saying that it won't happen, but I'm saying that it will happen least worst. Okay.
Yeah.
And also, did Ukraine have famines now?
No,
Tell me why.
because they stopped relying on Soviet economic policy.
No, because of the 5-year plan. Who gave
So
them
then why-
the
so in
best
the
tools to make their grain?
So in the 1970s and 80s, Ukraine had another famine.
Yeah, because of the devastation of World War II.
40 years later?
Hoppy, would you agree that the lack of famine in Ukraine compared to like pre-Soviet era, would you agree that like the industrial did help in mitigating that?
No.
Okay.
Because in 1905, there was another famine and there were no deaths. Because the Russian monarchy stopped deaths and famines. They succeeded. It took them a long time, but Tsar Nicholas figured it out.
As well as the Soviet Union.
No, because there were 5 million deaths in 1932. There were 0 deaths in 1905. 20 years later, there were 5 million.
The 1930, you know when World War II, you know that in 1932, the consequences of the revolution, the Civil War, which ended in 1920. Let me search it up. In 1920 something, still were there, you know, and the country was pretty
Okay,
much devastated.
Can I just say, TPH, I need to go now, but I've recorded up to this moment.
Okay, I have a recording too. Don't worry about it.
I'm recording.
Oh yeah, okay, right, okay. Anyway,
Yeah, so this is good. We're getting into the first.
It stopped in 1922. Okay, the Russian Civil War stopped in 1932. It makes sense that they got a famine in 1930. Yeah, I know it's 10 years after, but normally things like that is still keep on it. You know this, yo. You know that radiation, which is a fault of the United States, of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, is still in Japan to this day, and they have not recovered fully of it, as well as Russia did not recover from the war, from World War One, and World War Two, which bring great devastation to the country. But they have, I mean, they did recover, but thanks to the 5-year plan. But yeah, still the famines will always come. Famines are a natural thing. It will always happen.
In 1960, the army was one of the most well-fed armies in Europe, and also there was
because armies are prioritized,
and yet there was still no famine, and yet there was still no famine in Russia. In Moscow by itself, they had a 12-day store of grain for every single person in Moscow.
Bro, that's literally top. I'm gonna search it. I'm gonna search it up on.
Yeah, we gotta compare working class to working class here. We can't be comparing the military class to the to the working class.
I would consider consider random workers in Russia to be working class.
Yes, random workers in Russia are the working class. Military, though, was its own class because that's how feudal society was.
And the working class still had a grain storage.
Okay, you can see my screen sharing. Go to it. Yes, severe famines occurred during World War One, primarily driven by Allied naval blockades, requesting and disrupted agriculture. These food crises were the time of future of the war, bro. This shit happened. Yeah, there were a lot of famines.
Who was it for? It's Germany right below it.
Yeah, search Russia. We can search Russia, bro. There were a lot.
Oh my god. Okay, just
Yes, severe food shortages and localized famines occur in Russia, particularly affecting urban surgeons, and though the situation varied by region. Urban crisis, where the urban crisis of 19, starvation, a lot of things. You're capping. There were famines. There were a lot of fucking famines because of the devastation of the war. You're literally making a statement.
So let's ask this question. So we're gonna ask both sides here, and we'll start probably with Wissam because the pressure's on him. And Happy, and you're cool with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Wissam, let's have you count down the factors of the Holodomor, and don't leave anything out because we wanna see, right? And then we'll have Happy and Hero do the same right after, and then you guys will come together to argue.
So I'm gonna count down what happened in the Holodomor. Bro, Oscar, stop with the pork thing, bro.
Well, we're having you basically just list off.
Okay, the Holodomor was a natural thing which happened because of the material conditions of the devastation of the Russian Civil War and World War One, which I have disproved. I have debunked you. You were capping. There were famines. There were a lot of devastation on the Russian side, as well as France, as well as Germany. World War One was one of the great tragedies of human history. Okay, that's why a Holodomor happened. And after the Holodomor and 2 or 3 more famines were not as bad as it was. They mainly fixed it. They fixed that problem. And you can't deny
We're not
Russia is
saying-
way more industrialized than the Russian Empire could ever be industrialized.
saying-
They were a peasant nation.
What's it? Any factor that contributed, and I'm saying don't leave any out because it's important, right?
Yeah. Okay. Also, yeah, it killed a lot of Ukrainians. Stalin blocked the borders. Yeah, that happened. I think that's wrong. That was not a great option to. But still, the outcomes of the 5-year plan were way better than its flaws. You can't deny this. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
All right.
Okay, now we're gonna have.
I would say that there's two.
Yeah, we can move on to what is the next point we're debating after this?
So first we're just gonna get through the empirics of the Holodomor, and then you will and then like we'll just move on to any other event that went poorly that Hopian wants to bring up.
You can debate World War
And
One.
then Wissam, you can once we do that, then Wissam, you can bring up the benefits that you believe that they experienced.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to be very empirical here. So yeah, Hopian, what was your factors for the Holodomor?
I would say that there's two main factors, right? One being Soviet economic policy, not understanding the ECP, them not being able to calculate for shortages, them not being able to calculate for market prices. In fact, it's rather well known that the Soviets used Western market prices in order to try and bypass the ECP, which shows that Soviet economic policy by itself in a vacuum cannot work. And the second point is that they were trying to crush Ukrainian nationalist spirit in order to basically imperialize a region that did not want to be part of the Soviet Union. So this included them blocking borders. This included them forcing food out of homes, out of families, on purpose, even though they knew that the Ukrainians were starving. And this led to even more deaths than in previous years, even under Russian monarchy, which industrialists like to say they solved. They didn't solve it. In the Russian monarchy solved famines. They had 0 deaths the last time there was a famine. And then Soviet famines increased even until the 1980s, in which case they needed Western grain.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, how does the ECP apply to Soviet Union?
So the ECP applies because they were
Describe the
using
ECP.
all their funds.
Describe what is the ECP, please.
The ECP is the economic calculation problem. Basically, what it is that without market prices, you can't calculate opportunity costs.
There were
So you don't
market
know where to
prices in
allocate
the Soviet
resources.
Union. I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
You're making a straw man.
How is that a straw man?
There were market prices in the Soviet Union.
There were
market-
because they used Western market prices.
No, because you're also making a straw. Have you read Marx? You know that the DOTP, the dictatorship of the proletariat, is a transitional phase. You know,
What?
the dictatorship of the proletariat is a transitional phase.
Sure, I
It
know
is-
what that is.
It is capitalist, in fact.
It's not
It's a
capitalist.
vanguardist. Yeah, it is.
It's-
It is highly social capitalist.
Capitalism can exist with a dictatorship. Capitalism can exist with a centralized state.
Are we
The
talking
capitalism
in terms of-
actually does
are we
exist
talking in terms of the
with a
mode of
dictatorship.
production or
The dictatorship
like,
of capital.
Let's just get both sides what capitalism is, right? Because
I would greatly like to get into that. That will be a great debate.
Okay, Wissam,
Capitalism is for me, capitalism, as Marx described it, is the dictatorship of capital. It is a dictatorship. The dictatorship of the proletariat is not like it. Okay, you need to understand it. You need to read Marx for this. I know you're not. But we communists view models as dictatorships. You know? And no, Shivers, I'm not being Bortiguez. Every kind of system is a dictatorship of something. Let's use Cuba, my country. Why I'm living here. Cuba is a dictatorship of the military. Okay. The Soviet Union in its last time without Stalin and without the anti-revisionist side was a dictatorship of the bureaucrats on corruption. And
Just one
now
second.
Russia is a
Just 1 second.
dictatorship. Yeah, okay. Bro,
Are you using your
to make the
notes?
yo TPH,
Are you using your
how
notes?
many people is watching this debate?
Okay, well, on the TikTok side, I have 10 viewers. On the YouTube side, I have like 2. And then right here in this Discord, there's, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll edit it later.
Yeah, but like, dude, are you using your notes?
That's my bad. That's my bad.
Oh, we'll have 12 people actually.
Okay, so
That's great.
so then what is capitalism? What characterized it? Not like,
Yeah, as I say,
just what characterized
capitalism is a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. Is a dictatorship of capital. It's easy to understand.
So here's a question. Why do you not believe that capitalism can be a dictatorship? Like, why can a dictatorship not have capitalism?
Is that for me?
Yes, for you, Hopian.
Okay, so my definition of capitalism is the free exchange of goods and property. So why it can't be a dictatorship is because that uses force, right? A dictatorship is a monopoly on force of a certain area, right? So if you're using force, then that obviously by definition can't be free exchange of anything. So like a state by definition can't be capitalist because a state uses the monopoly on force. I have to pay taxes or else I go to jail, for instance, right?
So the United States is not capitalist?
No, it's a mixed market. You can have now that is important is because you can have capitalist what do you call it? Characteristics.
Are you talking about anarcho-capital? Because that will be another thing. Capitalism to maintain itself. Okay, in your capital where everything is perfect and is an utopia. Can I, as a proletariat, not work for my bourgeois owner?
Yeah, you can homestead. You can go off into the woods because there's no United States park rangers. You can find
can I take his property? Like, can I take his property and get my what I really make out of my like? Can I?
What do you mean?
Why not?
You can't.
Why not?
You can't take property because that's
How you're gonna defend your property? How you gonna make that the proletariat does not take over the bourgeoisie thing? You know how you gonna avoid a proletarian revolution in your beautiful ANCAP system? You need force.
How do you make sure that people don't steal? Still a police force, like there's still
there is force.
Yeah, and there's social.
So it's a dictatorship.
No.
So it's a dictatorship. If there is force, it's a dictatorship.
No.
You literally say it. You literally say like 2 or 3 seconds ago.
If somebody runs at me with a knife and I pull out a gun and I shoot them, right?
That will be self-defense.
Is that a dictatorship?
No, that will be self-defense. But you're talking about a police force.
Yeah, a police force that
defend capital.
A police force
doesn't have a dictatorship.
No.
What is a dictatorship? Describe what is a dictatorship.
What do you define as a dictatorship?
It's a monopoly.
I'm using this definition that is forced to make you do things that you don't want to do or to make you do things. That's what that's the definition.
No, that's not my definition at all.
Okay, define a dictatorship.
It's a monopoly on force. So
you have a monopoly on force if you have a police force. Who that police force will serve the proletariat or I don't know the peasant class?
Yeah.
Like okay, but equally like or I mean that police force is if it's defending capital, okay? If it's defending capital, it is a dictatorship because you don't have the possibility in your league to seize that capital and actually.
Hoppy and
I live in a neighborhood.
do you think a police force should be privately owned out of curiosity in a capitalist
Yeah.
society?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
not an objectivist.
It is still a dictatorship. It's force being used to not make you do.
If everybody in my neighborhood,
It's a dictatorship of capital.
if everybody in my neighborhood came together, right? They came together and signed a contract saying, "I will put this much money, freely, this much money into a police force, and they protect this neighborhood, just this block." How is that a dictatorship? If the police force is not allowed to go into other neighborhoods.
Okay, I put money from my taxes for a police force.
Yeah, but
Still a dictatorship.
you're forced to put money into your police force. I'm saying you're
Yeah,
not
and
forced.
you think people is not? What happened if people just stop putting money into a police force
In my system or in the system now.
in your system?
If people don't put money into a police force, they're not getting that police force. They can.
How is your system gonna defend itself from invasions?
Because people will put money into police forces. People will put money into defense.
A police will defend your community from.
Okay, hold up a
Yeah.
second. I think we're drifting from the point. I was trying to ask you guys what capitalism was so that you could apply it when
He's describing anarcho-capitalism. It's not capitalism, and it's still just a dictatorship.
when revisionism
There's only
came
anarcho-capitalism.
when revisionism came to the USSR, that's why I wanted to define capitalism so that you could apply that there, or contend that as well. But now we're gonna go back to the Holodomor. Just like Hoppy and
I'm gonna go do some P-maxing, bro. My shit can't. I need it, bro. I need it. I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I've been cutting in and out. I've got family and everything. I just came back from school and everything. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Cool. Ave, how come you?
This has been interesting so far, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been fun. Honestly, I didn't think the history part was going to be used as much. I probably should have prepared more. That was my bad.
Ave,
Where did the song go?
Ave, how much did you actually get?
I got like 75%. I'm sorry. I went out with my friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I got most of it. I heard most of it. I promise.
Okay.
Is the end of the debate?
Is that the end of the debate?
At the end. He went to go P-Max, so.
He went to go P-Max. Sure, I might do the same thing too.
Okay, he's at the bottom now. I didn't even realize.
I've been playing Siege this entire time. I'm gonna keep it above.
Dude, that sounds so
The
good.
debate's not over. It's gonna transition to we're gonna transition to like in the life in the uneventful periods. That way
Holy cow, this is a long debate. It's been like
Yeah,
an
this is a
hour.
long ass debate, bro.
Yeah.
I skipped the Backrooms movie for this shit, bro.
Then we're gonna
TPH,
how much
this
longer
is
do we have
over-
left?
Oh yeah, so
You can
TPH,
watch
this
the
is over
Backrooms movie
halfway
for free,
done,
bro.
right?
the plan is
This is over halfway done, right?
Yeah.
This is halfway.
It is. Over.
Is it?
Bro.
Halfway? Holy shit.
We're gonna get into life in the uneventful periods, and then we're gonna go to just raw economics, and
Wow.
Okay.
that'll conclude
We
it.
have to do that. Can we not just call it and continue this?
Look.
Like do another debate?
I'm gonna be in bed by the end of this debate.
Genuinely.
Like,
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah. Who else just joined?
and a bunch of people joining them.
Oh,
A bunch of people left.
I just hear a chirp.
is that an African ceiling bug?
Bird, dumbass.
The bird.
You didn't even get the racist joke right. What's
The
wrong
fucking
with you?
racist joke made me gassy, dude.
You can hear it.
Yo, what are we talking about?
I was so
Anything
confused,
we
bro.
can to pass the time while with some P-Maxes. There we go.
I'm back, bro.
Oh,
Oh,
here we
it's
go.
on.
Some
Okay,
feedback.
Oh,
we're gonna
finish.
transition.
WWE Mac.
Okay, Donnie, please. We're gonna transition to like life and uneventful. We're gonna transition to.
Yeah, I'm
life
just
and
gonna say, I
uneventful
just got to say,
periods.
it was a great debate. I'm really enjoying this. Hope you're here. I think you're in a smart position.
Aw.
Okay.
No, hey, bro.
Without further ado, we're gonna.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. We're
Uh,
talking about
let's open with Hopping Hero. What were the? What were
why
the
they're calling me racist in the
what were the
chat, bro.
5-year plan?
Move.
For more
Not
uneventful
the
periods
time.
where there's not anything going on. So maybe post-war, pre-war, and such.
So, are we gonna continue where we left it, like talking about and capitalism?
No. That was kind of we were drifting from the topic. So this is just 5-year plan when there wasn't a war or a like anything going on. So
I mean, it was
let's
great,
let Hopping
man.
Hero open here.
Yeah, open. Bro, you can begin.
Oh, that's me. All right.
Yeah, that's you.
All right. Sorry, I'm completely zoned out.
Yeah.
You know what the topic is?
Yeah, the uneventful period. So like, what are we talking about? 1920s to 1940?
Yeah, you really
and then,
study, bro.
Of course, for
I
46
studied
to 50,
more for philosophy and shit
53,
like
if you
that.
want to, and then you guys could argue about the changes Khrushchev made, or didn't make, but for now, just you get the point. Happy and go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I would argue that even the changes that Khrushchev and the presidents after him made, they didn't really make a difference. They didn't solve the ECP because we still had shortages. There is a reason why life expectancy of the Soviet bloc never actually rose past U.S. Life standards. There's a reason also why the fall of the Soviet Union showed major Soviet bloc countries rising in life expectancy extremely.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
You sure? Yo, you sure? No, please confirm it again. Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
You should. Oh my god! You know the new economic policy, then NAP came back with Khrushchev. You know that was a great change.
No, it fucking
That was
didn't.
market socialism.
I do know that. I also know it wasn't enough. Like there's a reason
wasn't
why
enough?
We all love Khrushchev.
Yeah.
I wish
Yo.
Khrushchev brought back the NEP. I wish he did.
Yo, we're
He
all
didn't.
right communists,
I wish
bro.
he did.
Khrushchev is my favorite Trotskyist. That's why I love.
If only Deng Xiaoping was alive in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union would have achieved communism if Deng Xiaoping was alive in 1955 in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
So,
Khrushchev was
Javi,
like a
what
Caesar,
are your?
bro.
Let's just hear some let's hear your information on how things were going.
So how things were going? So I mean, like I think this is my strongest point, and the reason why I keep talking about it is because even after World War II, right, 40 years afterwards, the Soviet Union was still importing grain from the United States, and then after Carter signed an embargo on the USSR. The USSR just went to Canada, and Canada became the main exporter of grain. And this didn't end until the 1990s after the fall of the Soviet Union. Is the fact that even after massive
participate in markets, right?
Yeah, they participated in markets, but that's because that they were using Western market prices, and that was after that was after Lenin and Stalin.
I kind of think that after Stalin, they kind of fail in the whole reason of this Oh, you hear me well there?
No, you're cutting.
Okay,
You're cutting out a ton.
Yeah, sorry. My mic. The whole reason of this economic policy and this Western market prices was to survive. You know, that's what a banker state like the Soviet Union is its whole thing is to survive. But I think they really failed in exporting the revolution to other countries. They just keep the Soviet bloc and that's it. But yeah, I don't know if they had allied with China, wouldn't have needed Canadian imports and things like that. That's mostly Khrushchev's fault, you know.
A permanent revolution. Say.
Well, if you're going to talk about China as well, China suffered the exact same things, except in the 1960s when they tried to implement Leninist, Stalinist economic policies. Like there's a reason why life expectancy went directly down.
They did not apply that as Maoism. I kind of like for Latin America, but Maoism does not. It is Marxist. They did not apply those policies. The great leap forward. Even though we're not debating. The great leap forward is a policy to make proletariat in China, which worked. The proletarian population growth was awesome in China, and now China is living in the future.
How many people died again?
Yeah, there were a lot of people, but what about the Indian famines, which were worse?
The Indian famines happened for the exact same reasons that the Chinese and the Soviets happened. The British government had control over Indian grain. It was completely government forced. And if you're gonna say that the 1932
Maoism, even though we're not talking about Maoism, you know what Maoism third world theory is, right?
I do.
What is? Explain it.
They were trying to take the agricultural society into industrialism. They were trying to industrialize.
No, that's not what the third world theory is. Basically, the colonial powers extract surplus barrels mainly from third world countries like Africa, China, and undeveloped countries mainly affected colonialism. So they can create something that is called the aristocracy of the proletariat in the Western. So a revolution does not happen. What is the aristocracy of the proletariat? Proletarians who are good with the system, such proletarians like you, who thinks everything is good with our system when really it is really the success of that system is not because of because of self resources. It is because of foreign resources. The United States does this through getting oil, grain, and foreign resources when they don't, to keep y'all happy. It's like when the Romans did the Colosseum thing, so the other Romans did not it is just that. That's the third world theory.
Yeah, except it paints a picture, right? So like we're talking about the 5-year plan. The Maoists did the exact same thing with collectivization of the farmlands. That's why I'm bringing this up. And it led to the exact same results. It led to starvation.
Yeah, because I think that communism should be more decentralized. It will solve that problem that the farmers organize themselves and do it by themselves. No state representatives. They do need these representatives for 5-year plan, 5-year plan, but they kind of can manage it their way, and that'll be a great thing. That will solve that,
Okay, how would this solve for opportunity cost?
Still, the still existence of markets.
Okay. So then how would you know that the labor value isn't being taken then?
Everybody
So,
is being
if you have the collectivization of a farmland, right? How do you make sure that it's going to run correctly, right? This is just Italian theory.
because
is that there will always be-
the people who is in that farmland, okay, know how to do it. You know, they're managing it themselves.
I mean,
they don't need a market. They don't need a market. They don't.
They tried it in the Soviet Union. They gave
No,
they
it did not. It did not happen. It was like that.
Wait,
it was not like
may I
that.
interject real quick? You
They're
both
managing
believe
themselves
that-
for themselves.
Yeah, you both believe that markets can exist in socialism, correct?
Yeah, but it's just for a fake. No. It in last stage it does not exist. It's just anarchism, international anarchism.
Okay, what about you, Hopian?
No, I don't believe that the markets.
There is no
in the
market in
purest form
China?
can exist under socialism.
There's no markets in China.
There are, but they're completely distorted, which is why you see the problems that they have today.
What
Interesting.
problems?
I mean,
What
they have,
problems
they have
has
some of the
China?
most expensive housing in the world. Like their housing market just crashed like a month ago.
Shut up. Oh, Jesus Christ, bro. Actually, the Chinese houses are cheap.
So, out of curiosity, Hopian, do you think socialism has ever been achieved?
Socialism,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, it did.
Communism, no.
Okay. So you do think that said socialism can have markets in it, right?
I mean, maybe look, maybe this this market housing market, not because the market is being regulated, because in
Yeah.
the United States they have housing,
Once you check this,
and in Europe they
China
have
thing-
it too. It is because the people because they're trying they're using I'm gonna explain this. This is they're treating houses like they're treating housing, all this stuff like it is a commodity, you know, when it is a necessary right that everybody should, you know, because if you don't have a house, you fucking die, you know.
Okay,
You
once
can't
check
live
this-
without a house.
Once you check this China thing, then we're gonna move on to just economics itself. As like a conceptually, not
Interesting. So we're not going to vote on portions of the debate. We're just going to vote at the end.
yeah, and that's why I said just
We can
keep
vote
track
in
of who's
portions if you
prevailing on
want.
what and everything.
I think we
I'll
should just vote
PH
overall.
ones.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's
Well,
fair.
So yeah,
I would like to jump into morals of socialism.
moral slash
That'll be a great
ethical slash
topic.
amoralism. Yeah, sure. All right, yeah.
Yeah,
But this
So-
will be just my perspective, because socialism, because Marxism, is not moralistic. Okay, like we do not take the moralistic stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, where is
so Chinese price to income ratio is about 21. In the United States,
Yeah.
it's 3.
Well, yeah,
United
because now
States-
they're having a crisis. But as you can see, wait, yo, better. Let's see it better. Let's look at it better. You can see Philippines, Thailand, Philippines, Thailand, Taiwan. Bro, in Taiwan, worse. It's capitalist. South Korea is way worse. Yo, looking in, what about those? What about Nepal? Nepal just had a capitalist revolution. What about those places?
Could be
I
related
wouldn't
to
call Nepal a
population.
capitalist revolution,
Could be
but
related to overpopulate or whatnot.
I mean, it was like a kind of reactionary revolution against a highly social democratic party trying to be communist. That's how I like to describe it.
yeah, but obviously there's
What about those places? What about those places who has way worse income?
well, I mean, especially with Taiwan and Korea, there's still mixed.
Isn't
markets,
Taiwan a
right?
heaven of capitalism? Isn't Taiwan and Korea the heaven of capitalism? The
No,
best
not even close.
examples of
Tucker
growth.
Carlson said it was a copy.
Yeah, they're
of,
examples of
America.
growth. There,
Oh, actually,
there's-
you can look again at it, and North Korea is doing way better than
North Korea
South
is
Korea.
completely white. North Korean
Well,
data
I
doesn't.
mean, maybe because
North
they're
Korean data
isolating
doesn't
from the
exist.
world. Maybe because they're isolating from the world.
Wait, Hoppy, do you think capitalism exists in any country on the earth?
I think capitalism, in very small quantities. So like, obviously, Liechtenstein is considered like the prime example, but that's still within the boundaries of a state, right?
Bro, Liechtenstein is a city state. It is not
Yeah.
it does not has a lot of people. Of course, it works because it's like a narco. But you can't bring these examples of successful countries where your system has been applied, which are micronations. You know,
Because of
I'm bringing
economies
the
of scale.
fucking Soviet Union. It has like 1 trillion people. You know, I'm bringing Vietnam. I'm bringing China. Even though I don't agree fully with it now.
But China's main claim is that they have a 90% home ownership rate, and the
Yeah,
housing
but
itself.
you are
is
doing
more
way
expensive
better
in the
than
United
anything
States.
in Asia. You know, they're doing way better than anything in Asia. You can't compare a landlocked, which doesn't have
Singapore-
allies in the region. China does not. China is alone by themselves, and they power
Hong Kong
to
by
fucking
itself.
United States, which is the world hegemon. They have better economy.
Hong Kong by itself has more foreign investment per capita. Not
Yeah,
even
because
per capita.
it's an
more foreign
open
investment.
it's an
than
economic
China.
free zone. No, it's not true. Yeah, because they let it do it there. Thing of China, the special economic zones of China. You need to understand this. That is
Yeah,
a
I know.
special economic zone.
And those are the only
It's
cities.
a port dedicated to that. It makes sense that it has more foreign investment because its main purpose is for foreign investment.
No,
It's an
not foreign
economic
investment
special
going into
zone.
Hong Kong. Foreign investment coming from Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's its purpose.
Like Hong Kong capitalists or
Yeah, it is an economic. Yeah, bro, the audio is coming back, bro.
Hold on. Does that mean Hong Kong capitalists are investing outside of Hong Kong? Or outside capitalists are investing? So it's the first one.
No, nations invest in other nations.
Hong Kong money to other countries.
Is that true? I mean, China does not invest in other countries. China don't do this. They just focus on themselves. That's their policy.
China has made massive investments in Africa.
Yeah, wait, I
Yeah,
was
because
about
they're
to ask
trying
that.
to beat back colonialism, but in Asia they don't do anything. They don't care.
Wait,
because it's-
wouldn't that mean that they do invest in foreign countries? Because you just said they invested in Africa. That's still
Yeah, I mean-
investing.
Yeah, they're investing, but not. It's China. The geopolitical policy of China is resisting. That's it. They don't make allies. They don't have like a NATO, CSTO. They're just by themselves. They're investing in African countries.
They're in BRICS.
They're trying to beat colonialism out of Africa.
Okay,
It's a head
once
country.
we get through this topic,
That's-
hold up. Guys, once we get through this topic, that'll bring us right into economic principles. And after that, we'll decide if we hit ethics / immoralism and such.
Yeah, I mean, I like to hit moralism first. Although, well, yeah, let's do it like that. Moralism is just my view. My moralism is just world perspective, you know. And I'll just bring up the Bible as a source, you know. I don't know. I'll use some of my.
I personally vote to not go over morals, since moralism is not like a big communist.
Yeah, it's just my
Agreed.
personal perspective. And let's see what they want.
Okay, guys.
Who's like playing
Smile
like
for
Siege
ethics,
or
round
something?
for debate.
I'm playing Siege right now.
I kind of.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Economics.
What? We're debating fanboys? Yo, fanboys are peak, bro. What the fuck is he talking about?
Dog. Actually, my girlfriend got so mad at me. I on my Twitter, right? Like all the ANCAP femboys.
Trotskyist versus Leftcom debate.
That's what
And you're gonna either counter or just bring in.
yes, the labor value. This okay. Mainly, probably I don't know how you call this in English. This
Dart.
Yeah, that dart. This dart is kind of simple. Okay, it didn't take that much time, though. It has its person.
Yeah.
So go on. What's your economic thesis?
So labor isn't what creates value. In fact, labor or value isn't created at all. It's determined, right? It's what would you call it? Examined. So like that's why
created by materialism. It is created by materialism. How okay? Can I as the person value this more than this? Like a fucking dart? How?
You can.
Explain me how. You will
Okay,
buy
well-
this? Yo, if I tell you this is 20 millions per one of this dart. You will buy it? So
If I
you
wanna play
speculate with
darts?
this?
If
But you
you
will buy this? For
No.
20